because we're a small casual group. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our chair, Chair Stemich. Thanks.
Yes. Hello, everyone. This is my first time chairing remotely, so hopefully we can get this to work pretty good. Sorry I can't be there in person. I would like to call our February 2nd, 2026 meeting to order. I'm not sure exactly what the time is, 6:35. So, yeah, so welcome to City of Sisters, City Hall. That's where I think just about everybody else is tonight. It sounds like Mark Hudson is also remote. And is there anyone else on Zoom besides me and Mark?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. So on our first agenda item is our election of chair and vice chair. And I think we're up for, is it 2-year terms or four-year, Tanya?
The chair, I believe, is 1 year.
1 year. Okay. Okay, good.
Of every year.
Excellent. And currently I'm the chair, and then our vice chair is Dennis, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that people can be chair and vice chair for as long as they want under the rules of our as long there's not term limits on chair and vice chair.
Okay. Yeah, Tanya, I know you had asked earlier if I was still interested in chairing for an additional year, and I can do that, but I'm also more than willing to hand that over to anyone else who's interested.
Rachel?
Yes.
This is Dennis. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Dennis.
I'm willing to support you for another year.
Oh, excellent. I would be happy to.
Okay. And I'd be happy to stick with you.
Okay, as our vice chair. That's excellent. I would love that.
I second.
Thanks, Mark.
Rachel.
Great. That sounds great. So we'll extend our chair and vice chair for myself as the chair, and then Dennis Schmidling as vice chair for 1 more year. And I guess we'll discuss this again in 2027. All right. Our next agenda item is any public comments. I don't know if we had any that came in, or if there's anyone there in person in Sisters.
None have been received in writing, but we might have skipped the item number 3, approval of minutes.
Oh, okay. I had a different list.
Oh, you're right.
Oh yeah, they are. They're flipped. They're flipped on the agenda, and then the.
My apologies.
That's okay. Yeah. If, let's do that. If the approval of minutes, I noticed that there was the really old one from 2024. I believe that was one of the first meetings that we had with the county commissioners. I think Commissioner Chang and oh gosh, Adair. They were both there in person. That's right. I did read through those. My recollection is that looked all pretty accurate for those, even though it was a year and a half ago. And then the second set of minutes was from the August 4th, 2025 meeting, and I didn't see anything wrong with that one either. But did anyone have comments on either of those 2 meeting minutes? Okay. Do we have anyone that can second those for both the March 4th, 2024 and the August 4th, 2025?
I'd second the minutes for, are we still on? Can you hear me, Rachel?
Yes.
Okay, I'd second the minutes for, was it March of 2020?
Yeah, March 4th, 2024.
And for August 2025.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need a vote.
The one thing on the March 4th ones from 2024, I realized it was actually beneficial to reread through those. I mean, there wasn't any actual action items on there, but it was a good refresher as far as the topics that we had discussed, and also some of the items that we had actually talked about. There was some discussion about perhaps doing some Warm Springs Museum visits in the future, and then also starting to get the tribal engagement. So that was something that I wanted to make sure that we did revisit. So I encourage everyone to look through those meeting minutes again as sort of a refresher if you haven't. They're really beneficial. Okay. Those were both seconded, right?
Yes. Were they?
What'd she say?
Was there a second?
Yeah, I second.
Second, okay.
Okay. All right. So the next item was for public comment. Tanya, you said that there weren't any. Was there anything that was written that came in?
I did not receive anything written. Is
Okay.
there anyone in the room here who has a public comment that's not on the agenda? Nope, nothing in the room.
Okay. And there wasn't anything that may have been included from the November meeting that had been canceled last moment, correct?
Nothing that staff received, no.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's get into some of our action items. First item that I have here on the list for the agenda is the HLC membership update.
Yes, when in doubt, it's me talking. So this is Tanya Saltzman again. I would just like to extend a warm and belated welcome to Carrie Huddleston, our newest HLC member. Carrie is replacing Lori Christopher, who resigned last year. And her first meeting was going to be in November, but we did not have a November meeting. So we're thrilled to have Carrie at this meeting. And if you don't mind just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Or can Rachel hear me? Yeah. My name is Carrie Huddleston. Sorry I didn't get to meet everybody in November, but I'm glad to be here now. I've worked in historic preservation for over 20 years. I have a degree in historic preservation planning, and I've done everything from National Register nominations to preservation plans and regulatory compliance. So historic preservation is definitely my passion, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you.
We're happy to have you.
Look forward to meeting you next time.
Oh, thanks, Bert.
Yes, welcome, Carrie. I'm sorry I won't be able to meet you either this time, but our next meeting I think is in May, so hopefully we'll have some in-person visits then.
Great. I am planning on going to the conference in the spring, so I hope to be with you all then too.
Great. Tanya, was that it for the membership update?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, great.
Oh, actually, while I have you, I did send out a reminder to all of the commissioners about the annual Statement of Economic Interest. Just a reminder, it's this funny thing that everybody has to do every year. The Planning Commission has to do it as well. I believe did you receive an email from Steve Dennison? You did, from our clerk? Okay. So he will have all the instructions for the link you click on to fill out that form. You have to do that, I believe, by April, so you have some time. If you did not receive that email from him, let me know. But this is just your friendly reminder to do that as a commissioner.
Mm-hmm. And I think that doesn't even start until March 15th for filing,
Oh, okay.
is my understanding. So yeah, we're getting heads up about it now, but we can't actually file.
Oh, okay. I just like to get you excited about it. And that's all for that item. Thank you.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda is the City of Sisters presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Vowell. I'm the Associate Planner here at the City of Sisters. Nice to meet you all. I'm new to the City of Sisters and new to historic preservation planning, but I'm excited. Oh, ladies, can I have you on this side of me if you don't mind? Thank you. So here with me from the Three Sisters Historical Society, I'm going to let them kick this off. I have Ronnie Duff, Gail Todd, and Pat Leiser.
Gail. Can you hear me? I talk very quietly, so I appreciate the mic. My name is Ronnie Duff. I am, as of today, past president, and happy that Gail Todd is now president. But we all work as a team, so we'll all be doing some of the same things. I don't know how much you know about the Three Sisters Historical Society. I'm thinking it's not much if you're not in this area. But we've been around since 2017. The original Historical Society was founded by 5 other board members. None of us are the founding members, but we carry on the passion of the history and sisters. And, sorry. Our mission statement, I will read to you, as it's not in my mind. Our mission is to gather, preserve, and share the artifacts, photos, documents, and stories that make up the unique history of sisters. Our goal is to inspire interest through educational offerings at our Sisters Museum, and to engage with the community through outreach programs. So being in a small community, it seems it's easy to interact with a lot more people than it is in some of the bigger cities, but this is a pretty active community, and history isn't always what everybody thinks of when they come here. But we do our best. We have 6 board members. 3 of them have been serving on the board since 2018, and the others have been on the board for at least 2 or 3 years. We're a 100% volunteer organization, which is, I'm sure, as many of you know, is a challenge. So our board members are pretty active. We have the museum, and we handle everything ourselves with a group of volunteers, but it keeps us all very busy. We talk about it being a full-time job, unpaid. We work at connecting with the sisters community as part of our goals. The city is really very supportive of us through helping us produce a really nice brochure, and they also own the building that we occupy, the museum, so we have what we like to say affordable housing. We work with a lot of the other community building events. We have an organization in town called Citizens for Community, which is absolutely fantastic in connecting nonprofits and like ourselves to the community. So we feel very appreciative of that and participate in as many of their activities as we can to connect with our community. We were fortunate enough to have our first museum, which, if you don't know Sisters, it was in the Wakefield building, which is just down the road here in a historic building. And then now we're in the current museum, which is, as I said, the city owns. Last year, Our annual income was $22,000. We keep pretty budget-minded, and with grants and things to cover any additional expenses or special projects. Most of our income comes from our memberships. Last year we had 187 memberships, which really, with knowing some of those cover families, we had about 300 individuals in town supporting the museum. Our members, sorry, losing my voice. Our members get free admission to some of our events, and our biggest events that we do that are the most successful are our Fireside Speaker Series. We do about 4 of those each year. We do them in the fall and early spring when people are not so busy in the summer. We find it difficult to get attendance for summer activities, but this month, now we're in February 22nd, we're doing a Lauren Irving, which maybe some of you have heard of. He's, I think, done other talks in Central Oregon. He's going to talk about John C. Fremont. We call it Fremont Slept Here. So we're looking forward to that one. We have them at the fire hall, and we filled the fire hall. So there's a lot of interest in our history. We used to do things that were more sisters related, but we've kind of got outside the boundaries, and that seems to be equally interesting to our community. So we'll keep doing that. Then the March one is one that we all smile about because it's Hollywood in Sisters. Hollywood comes to Sisters. And so we're looking at some of the movies that have been made around here. The one that Pat and I are researching on is The Postman with Kevin Costner, which was filmed in several places local here. The movie didn't have big raves, but we like it. So those events really give us some good outreach, and our members attend really well, and we also get, as I said, membership support from there. And lastly, I want to talk about our volunteers, because I am volunteer coordinator, and I love the outreach and communicating with some of our volunteers. We have approximately about 35 volunteers. Most volunteers we need in the museum. We're open, Pat was going to tell you more about the museum, but we're open just on the weekends. And the volunteers, as I mentioned, history isn't someone's first thing they think about when they want to volunteer. But so we sort of challenged, but we have a unique interest group, and so the 35 are in the museum mostly, or our events, or we do our walking tours, which I think our brochure is available, and what other things they do, Pat? My mind's going to blank now. So walking tours and events is the most important thing. But they're a great group. They're field trips, yeah. We do free field trips for our members. And we also, one of my sort of goals to try and keep the volunteers connected to us is to do some field trips. We recently went to the Bowman Museum in Prineville, which was very well received, and we enjoyed it. So I wanted to say a lot of our volunteers come from mostly retired. We can't seem to attract the younger group, but that's fine. Retired teachers and Forest Service, so they bring us a lot of knowledge, and so we enjoy them. So I'm going to pass it on to Pat, and she's going to talk about the museum.
Yes, as Ronnie mentioned, the museum opened actually in the Wakefield House, and the Wakefields were instrumental in getting the airport started. His mayor, he had a car collection. He used to keep ambulances in the back carriage rooms, the carriage garages. But the fellow who had purchased the property and had restored it had been it was built in the 1930s, but it had been a dental office most recently, and then he restored it in 2018-19. And we were very fortunate that a woman who lives in Bend, she'd grown up in Redmond. She's the great-great-granddaughter of one of the earliest settlers here, the Cobb family. And strangely enough, her great-great-grandmother, who came in the 1880s, spent the last years of her life in in Prineville, helping in the first hospital that was established. And when that building was torn down in the 1980s, they found in the attic a trunk with mostly all the photographs we have in the museum. An incredible treasure trove. And very fortunately, Jan and her husband restored them, and she had I think a great aunt who was still alive and could help her find out what they all were. And so she donated those to the museum, and we were able to open that first exhibit in 2020, just as COVID got going. So it was a little a challenge, but we were able to keep the museum open. So, but a year later, the fellow had to sell the building. So that was when the city offered the small building we're in now, which is called the Maida Bailey Building, because it was the original city library, which used to sit on Cascade, about where the Depot restaurant is today. And it's charming and it's cozy. We don't have a lot of room. But we were able to put our original exhibit in there, and for the first year or two, and then we had our first rotating exhibit about logging, and then most recently we've put on a new exhibit about ranching and farming around Sisters. So that is still up in the museum today. So the museum is open on Fridays and Saturdays from 10 until 4, and in the summertime we're open on Sundays from 10 to 2 when the First Street Farmers Market is open. So that brings us a lot of people coming on in. And we have some children's activities. We've had one of the earlier board members, she created these little medallions that have stamped pictures of cowboy hats, cowboy boots, and on the back side it has our logo for the museum. And we have a history hunt that if the kids can go around and find these objects that are just drawn, or they're just images of them in the museum, and if they get them all, they can get one of those little prizes. It's a medallion hangs around their neck. And they have to even see if they can know what the things are. So that's always kind of a trick. We have an old butter churn. Anyway, we have had around nearly getting up towards 2,000 people who have come to the museum. We have a guest book now. We don't always remember to get everybody to sign, but and with some they've come from 35 different states and maybe 15 international countries. So we have a lot of visitor traffic, people who are coming in, oftentimes visiting family. And the family, I think sometimes it's the family brings them in. It's the first time the family has come in the museum. So that's always a good thing. We get two birds. Let's see. That's about it. If you have any questions, I don't know. And I'm often there on Friday and Saturday afternoons. I've spent a lot of time following the previous board members around when they were giving the tours, so I've kind of got a good, and plus we have a fellow who grew up here who gave us some tours of the downtown and telling stories from his childhood. So some of that we meld into the tour. So we'd love to see you, have you come in if you have a chance.
And you will get to see Pat in costume when you come.
So I wore my costume today.
Hello, I'm Gail Todd. I am now the new president as of 1 o'clock this afternoon. It has not gone unnoticed that on the Landmarks Commission website, the first 5 structures listed are the original Sisters High School, the Hardy Allen House, the Lighthouser Store, Hotel Sisters, and the Aiken Drugstore. And the first 3 sites listed are Santiam Wagon Road, Mackenzie Highway, Camp Polk Cemetery. And the first 5 places listed are Swamp Ranch, Long Hollow Ranch, Camp Polk Military Post, William T.E. Wilson Homestead, and the Enoch Cyrus Homestead Way Station. You have it listed as Hay Station, so you might want to correct that.
Thank you.
And all of these are in or just outside of Sisters, so we take great pride in the ranking of those listings. Of grave concern are historic buildings in jeopardy, namely the original Sisters High School. The school district wishes to sell the property that contains this historic building listed on the National Register of Historic Places. According to the district's December minutes, Superintendent Scholl reported that the district is moving forward with rezoning plans. Their plan to rezone the property to commercial status puts the fate of that historic building in jeopardy. One building that sadly has succumbed to deterioration is the Conklin House. It becomes extremely frustrating to see historic buildings with this fate. Our challenge is, how do we save historic buildings in our community? This is where we can use your clout, expertise, experience, and any grant funding that may be available. Funding, of course, will help us grow and accomplish our goals. And what county funds might be available to us? If there is any lodging tax, however small, available to the museum to promote visitors to us and introduce our history and buildings to them, we would gladly accept it. On our end, we will educate the public through our continued walking tours, showcasing the wonderful business and residential historic buildings in Sisters, continue to distribute the walking tour brochures published by the City of Sisters to the public, and as I said, the walking tours. We would place articles in the Nugget to further educate the public regarding the preservation of these buildings, and continue to educate the public in our museum, in our articles in our newsletter, and our well-attended Fireside Talk series. We are an all-volunteer group, as Ronnie has said, with a passion to preserving history through our historic buildings, in addition to the sites and places we are privileged to represent. As was stated on the front page of the Nugget this past week, Judy Traeger, director of the Sisters Area Chamber of Commerce, stated, quote, "In 2031, Sisters Country will be a modern Western community that preserves its history and remembers those who came before us to make Sisters into the place it is today," end quote. We ask for any assistance you can give us to preserve that history. Thank you.
If I may, just pop in for 1 sec. Regarding funding.
Yes.
I'm glad you asked. Basically, and some of the commissioners they've heard my spiel already, but basically the HLC does not get any money from the county for anything. Basically, all of our budget is from the Certified Local Government Grant, which is administered by the State Historic Preservation Office. I think we've done a few pass-through items for, I think, some audio equipment in the past, a few years ago, so that's a every 2-year cycle. So we're in the middle of a cycle right now, and actually our next agenda item is discussing one of those items. But if there's things, we should talk, basically.
Okay.
If there's things in the
Be glad to.
future, yeah, and the grant is admittedly quite narrow with what it does cover. It's not, I can talk to that off to the side, but I think the next round of applications will be next February, so a year from now, roughly. And if there's things that we can help pass-through funds for the Historical Society that meet the grant standards, then we'd be happy to do that. You know, it's not large amounts of money. I think the most they give us is maybe $12,000 total. But absolutely, we recognize that you're a hugely important resource, and the City of Sisters is part of the Deschutes County HLC. So, you know, we're all in this together, so we absolutely welcome those discussions, and I'll remember to get in touch with you well prior to that application, because that's kind of our only mechanism for, I wish we could just take some of those
Write
lodging
checks,
taxes
right.
or write checks, but unfortunately we can't, but that is the one mechanism that we do have, and we'd be happy to share that resource.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Can I ask a question? One of the things that, because of, as Gail mentioned, this is a growing town, and developers look at these buildings and not without any value, even though we know they do have historic value. Do you have any recommendations for how we can educate ourselves a little more on historic preservation? I know you can go online and look at things, but do you have any recommendations? Do you offer any classes or things
I wish we did. We're such a bare bones operation, sadly. You know, we're the ones sort of that we're trying to receive education. We're not in a position to give some, but maybe some of our new commissioners.
Yeah.
No pressure. But in terms of just, do you mean the kind of the legality of how something gets nominated and that?
Yes,
type of
how
thing,
we
or?
started, how we influenced the city to.
Yeah, I mean-
I know they have their rules, so I'm not blaming the city, but you know, just we see other towns do it.
Right.
Prineville has been a wonderful example for us in the things that they've done. I know that they have some really good income stream that makes things a little easier for
Yes.
them. But just any recommendations? I mean, where do we start to kind of be the spokesperson in town for some of these old buildings?
Right. I mean, I think I'll start with the trickiest thing, and I've said this to our commission in the past, is that the process for nominating something to become what's called a locally significant resource or a Goal 5 resource, it has to have owner consent. So that, you know, that's kind of the rub sometimes. So sometimes people are just not interested. And, you know, part of that, what we've tried to do in the past through mailings and things like that, is convince people that this is not, you know, having something listed is not a burden. It shouldn't be. It should be, you know, benefit, you know. So it's that kind of messaging, but having that owner buy-in is critical. And I think, from what I understand, it didn't used to be like that. So that's kind of a big hurdle to getting new things on the list. I think, you know, Deschutes County has not had new nominations, at least since I've been the staff liaison, which is, I don't know, seven years, something like that. They don't come around very often, but, you know, that could be something that could be maybe a CLG grant thing, a mailing or some sort of education campaign, whether that's a website or a mailing or a talk or a something. But I'm always happy to talk to you just, you know, individually or as a group to just go through the code and to sort of how that mechanism would work in terms of hearings and submitting a burden of proof and that type of stuff. But I think the first step is really getting that buy-in of the concept of preservation and the concept of nominating things.
Yeah, and the community. I mean, one of our goals is to get more articles in the paper about some of these buildings that are in town. Even Dennis was asking me about our museum building. He didn't know much about it. So we obviously have some education to do. So, and we have a most wonderful local newspaper, I think, anywhere that will accept articles. So we're going to do things like that on a specific building. We've got some wonderful historic buildings in town. We need to educate our community, and I think get their buy-in too.
Exactly.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was really
Yeah,
Any
thanks.
questions, commissioners? Or?
Yeah, I do have a question. You said that you had $22,000 in revenue last year. Is that right? What are the sources of the revenue?
Well, memberships, donations. We're starting to see some pretty good donations. We're feeling that maybe our memberships need to be upped a little bit. We try to keep them affordable, but and grants. We have Roundhouse Foundation is our friend, so we got a significant unsolicited grant. The city, yeah, we get grants from the city. we've done a lot of sort of small technological improvements. We're looking at that more. I think that's what we need to do. I didn't mention, none of us mentioned, but we do some wonderful oral history videos of some of our local old timers or not so old timers. And so we want to share those more and get them on our website. And none of us are really very skilled at technology, you know. So we're looking for help with that and maybe hiring people to do some of the editing on the videos or that type of thing. We also record all of our Fireside series, and so those are wonderful, and we're looking at those, but they're not totally ready for going online. We feel that they need a little bit of editing. So things like that we are looking for grants for, which are not too expensive. But we'd love for sort of big grants to buy like old high schools and things like that. That's our dream, in our dream world. But yeah, we get pretty skinny at the end of the year, but now we're getting more money in. And I've seen an improvement in some of our donations. Obviously, people are recognizing us and know that we're doing something good in this town, and so we have to keep pushing that for everybody to recognize.
Tanya, what is our role in terms of providing technical assistance or suggestions for?
That's a good question. It depends. So because we don't have any funding, primarily by code, the Landmarks Commission is a hearings or review body. So for when there is a nomination for something, not a new property, an older property that wants to be a new nomination to the Goal 5 locally designated, locally significant resource, or if there's an application for modification to one of those resources or demolition or just those type of things, the HLC's primary function by code is to be that hearings body. As I think many people in the room are aware, that doesn't happen very often. It has never happened on my watch, certainly. So those things are few and far between. But that is the main official task. So in light of that, in light of the absence of those applications, we've just tried to be kind of an educator and a connector. We have not been in a position to provide specific technical assistance. If someone comes up to us and says, how should I refurbish my windows to comply with something, that is not something we've historically done. We have to be cognizant of if something could come before the HLC as an applicant, you have to kind of maintain that separation. But I think on a case-by-case basis, certainly connecting groups with resources, with trying to connect them to grants, for instance, sometimes people, like cemetery people, ask us what might be available to them, and we try to connect them with the state. If there was a specific instance where someone's asking for technical assistance and we have the means to provide that could be a conversation, because I think that would be great, and why not? As long as it's not something that would conflict with a potential hearing.
Sure.
So it's kind of nebulous. I'm not going to lie.
Because one of the things that I was thinking is, like, because we are a certified local government, you could be eligible to be, I think it's called a Preservation All-Star Community, which makes you eligible for technical assistance and grants and things. It's a state program. I don't have I'm not really familiar with the criteria on those, but just being able to connect them to programs like that.
Exactly. Our State Historic Preservation Office, as I'm sure you know, is great, and they do have a lot of cool grants for various things. Only the CLG would come through kind of us. I think the other things are more direct. But you could look on their website, and they definitely have a bunch of resources, and the people there who I've interacted with are rock stars. They just know everything about how to get things done. So they might be of assistance as well. So, yeah.
And I think it is designated a Preservation All-Star Community, so they might be able to provide some sort of advice in terms of how that process works.
Yes, I'm looking at those type of things. I initially talked to COCC about doing some classes in town here that are on history topics. So I'm not president. Maybe I got some time to look into some other things. But thank you very much.
Yeah, I would definitely. And I know you're probably very familiar with the State Historic Preservation Office, but there's many grant opportunities available. I know they all have different application dates throughout the year, but I know one of them, the Diamonds in the Rough, the Preserving Oregon grant, those are usually like project specific, but like Carrie was mentioning, is looking into the all-star communities and all and that and seeing what properties might have some potential for some of those. So that's definitely a good starting point is looking at Oregon SHPO and kind of branching off from there as you need to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. One thing I might also mention is, and I know we've had the Sister Society involved in May Preservation Month in the past years. We coordinate with Deschutes County Historic Museum and some other nonprofits and our larger volunteer group for event planning for May. And we'd love to have any events or outreach that you'd like to do in May. We'd love to make sure that you're involved with that as a way to encourage more community knowledge and outreach on that as well. So I think I got each of your names, Ronnie and Pat and Gail. So as soon as we start planning for Preservation Month, I know we'll be in contact with you.
No, we have done that in the past. I think we didn't do much last year, but we'd usually have our walking tours advertised on that group.
Correct. Yeah.
I was just going to mention also that we helped produce the mural that's on the thrift store today, and which was originally the Lighthouse grocery store in from the 1950s. And Dennis did a wonderful job making the legend for us. And was that something else? Well, that's. Yeah. Oh no, the plaques that go with it. Each of the buildings in town that are listed have a plaque on them, the museum included. And I wish I knew how many total they are, but maybe 20, at least 20 buildings. And they're either the original place, and it has the plaque, or it's actually in the place where something used to be, and there's a historic plaque. So people can go follow the landmark map and read the plaques.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Tony, can you promote me
yeah.
to panelist again? I promise I'll accept this time.
Well, thank you for that presentation. That was really good to have an introduction to the Sisters Historic Group, and yeah, and welcome, Sarah. Our next topic is discussion for the CLG grants and the Oregon Heritage Conference coming up in April.
I think we're still going on Sisters things.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip ahead?
We're shuffling around in here with some
Gotcha.
tech issues. Sorry, Rachel.
Sorry, I couldn't tell what was
time
going
check
on.
here. How much time would you like us to allot to this?
As much as or as little, whatever you feel comfortable.
Gotcha.
I mean, not 2 hours, but I mean, unless you have that much, it's up to you.
I don't think we could fill 2 hours.
Well, I just recognized Scott Woodford's voice, so.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
Okay. So, historic preservation and Sisters. I'll give you a little history snapshot here. So the town was first platted in 1901. The first industries included cattle ranching, sheep herding, and of course the timber industry. It was a thriving community from 1911 to 1950, and what happened in the early 50s was the collapse of the timber industry, and that did impact this town. Our first school was built in 1912, and all the way later in 1946, the city was incorporated. This is just a little population snapshot here. So you'll see kind of over to the right-hand side, we've got some orange there, some orange numbers. Those were the populated projection for the City of Sisters from the 2040 comp plan. And then the light blue above it, the bigger number, is our new projected population from PSU. So even bigger than we originally anticipated. And right about now, we're right around 3,890 people. Like Gail was telling you, we do have one national historic landmark. It is the Sisters High School. It is conveniently located right across the parking lot if anyone wants to peruse it. So 525 East Cascade. It was built in 1939, and then in 2005 it was readapted to be the Sisters School Administration Offices. And it joined the National Registry, for sure, I checked, in 2006. And then the 4 other buildings that Gail mentioned are the Hardy Allen House, which is the oldest house in Sisters. It was built in 1908, and it has been moved twice to escape being demolished. So it's actually sitting about 2.5 blocks away from where it was originally built. And then you have the Aitken Drugstore, which was originally lost to a fire in 1923, but it was rebuilt. And when it was rebuilt, they made it a little bit bigger, so it accommodated sporting goods, souvenirs, and a soda fountain, which was kind of cool. Hotel Sisters is very recognizable. It's on 190 East Cascade Avenue. It survived 2 major fires in 1923 and 1924, and it's been a hotel, a pharmacy, a bar, and a restaurant. And from the things that I was reading, it looks like it may have been rumored to be the inspiration behind the 1880s Western frontier design theme, so kind of cool. And then lastly, we've got the Lighthouser store. It was lost to a fire in 1924, but it was rebuilt. And then the new structure actually served Sisters as a general store until the 1950s, and it is now home to Sisters Bakery. I mentioned a lot of fires. So there were 2 major fires in town in 1923 and 1924. In 1923, they said they lost about 10 structures, but then the 1924 fire took out about half of the buildings in town. And the blue arrow there is showing the Hotel Sisters, which made it through both fires, and it was actually protected by citizens hanging damp blankets out of the windows, so that's how it survived. And then those 2 kind of reddish-orange arrows are the Gist Hotel, which is now the Sinclair gas station, and the original Lighthouser general store, and they did not make it through those fires. In 2018, so give you a little background about what we've been up to here, the City of Sisters. So the reconnaissance level survey was done, and it was a large survey of 274 properties. It was only a visual evaluation of those properties, so it didn't look into any associated historical events or individuals that would have been considered a more intense survey. Of those, about 50% of them were not eligible because they weren't 50 years or older. 25% of them didn't have enough integrity, but we did have 3 eligible significant structures and 53 eligible contributing structures, so about 25% of everything that was looked at. In 2021 and 2022, we used the CLG grant to do a story map, which was a recommendation of that 2018 survey, and it recommended that we conduct more community outreach about buildings that could be added to the registry.
You didn't know this is where the museum is now.
So the information from that survey was just compiled into a user-friendly online resource that people can peruse. It gives an overview of the city history, the study area, and then additional details and photos of notable properties. I did not know that was, that's very cool. All right, and still in 2021 and 2022, we also printed 1,000 copies of the updated brochures, the walking tour brochures. And then we purchased an audio transmitter and receiver for the Sisters Museum walking tours. In 2023 and 2024, this took about a year and a half, we studied wildfire resiliency, so hardening practices for historic structures. The grant amount was about $5,000, and we were trying to go through of all of our architectural elements and our Western design theme and try and make them more wildfire resilient. So 8 of them that are there were already considered resilient, but 14 of the 22 needed recommendations for wildfire mitigation. And then they took it even one step further, and they said, if you, for whatever reason, can't meet the recommendations that we're making, here's how you could do defensible space, which would increase wildfire resiliency. And here we are in 2025 and 2026, and what we've done is update the brochure again. So we added bus stops, we added Camp Polk Pioneer Cemetery, we changed a few names, updated a few biographies, and added the Gateway Park and Transit Hub. And we just got those printed, and I brought a bunch if you want to take them. They're over there on the counter. That was way faster than 2 hours. Does anyone have any questions?
Just wanted to end the presentation by just introducing myself. I'm Scott Woodford. It's not too late. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Sisters, and just wanted to welcome you all here to Sisters, and just wanted to let you know how great of a working relationship we have with the staff we have for many years. Being the entity, I guess, in the area that has the most buildings and most things to preserve and maybe most interest, the county has approached us oftentimes to be the recipient of the CLG grant. And so we're happy to have those opportunities. And as you can see, we've put them to good use. And so hopefully we'll get to do a few more. Sounds like you got the next one coming up. Is it going to be opened in February?
Yeah, so the grant cycle we're in ends at the end of this fiscal year, so the end of June, and then I believe applications for the next one are around February.
February.
This is all assuming that everything federal.
Yeah, it's a lot of it.
Ultimately come from federal funds.
A lot of assumptions there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're going to just keep going until we're told that we can't.
So this good to see you guys, and we're available for any questions you might have.
Perfect.
Well, we're as the staff liaison, I'm greatly appreciative of Sisters staff, and you know, like Scott said, you've always been a great partner with the CLG grant, and I look forward to more. And thanks so much for hosting us. This is, I think, the first time we've done this, so it's nice to get out of town and just go to places. So we really appreciate that.
We'd like to invite you during the summer, during the day, and we can go on one of the walking tours. It'll be fun.
That would be fun. We're all into field trips. This is something we can talk about as a group, future field trips that are not necessarily on our meeting dates, but other times. That's a thing we can do.
Yeah. And thanks for all of the work that you do with the brochure, the walking brochures. The thing is just amazing. It's very impressive. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Scott. Okay. Sorry I jumped ahead there earlier.
Oh, no worries.
Alrighty. The next item is CLG grants and the Oregon Heritage Conference.
Yes. I will speak about this. Again, Tanya Saltzman, Senior Planner. I feel like we've been talking about this conference for a while, and now it's really happening. So as I've noted, we are in the middle of a CLG grant cycle, and the main chunk of money was to send 7 people to the Oregon Heritage Conference. CLG grant really encourages education, commissioner training, which I think is great. We have some newer members, and it's always a good chance to connect. It's good to go to conferences. So with that, I laid out some of the basics. We need to start planning for logistics. I will say, so the conference takes place in Woodburn from April 29th to May 2nd. The main panels are April 30th and May 1st. I think before and after it's some extra sessions that we will not be covering. And I gave you the website for the conference. I know some of you have perused that already. The grant is supposed to fund the registration fee, 3 nights of hotel, a per diem for meals, which is kind of a fixed amount, and reimbursement for mileage. So we can't get you there. We don't have any, cool van to drive you all in, but so you will have to get yourselves there on your own, or we do encourage carpooling. Get to know your fellow commissioners in the car, and that's what we would cover. So it's pretty much everything, unless you go, wild with meals or something. We will only cover up to a certain amount, but we want to encourage all of the commissioners to go. We have allocated for 7. So what I would like to hear, if you know that you 100% are in tonight, I would love to know that. If you know that you're not in, I just want to know everybody's status, basically. We don't, registration does not open until mid-February, so we do have a little bit of time. If you just don't know yet, talk to me. But I would like to know as sooner rather than later. So I, as staff, will take care of registering participants for the conference. So we'll do that kind of on our credit card. You, as individuals, will be responsible for booking your hotel with your own payment, and we will reimburse you after. Sometimes it takes a little while, but I swear we're good for it. And I will explain kind of the limits. There's 2 hotels that are associated with the conference that have special rates if you go on the website. So your responsibility, if you are going to do this conference, is to probably grab a room sooner rather than later. I have no sense of if it sells out or not. I just really don't know. So your best bet is to do that. And if you can just let me know once you've wrapped that up, it's just helpful for me to know so I don't have to kind of poke people. So those are kind of the most immediate things that we need to know. We'll deal with the kind of, if there's going to be carpooling and how all of the reimbursement stuff works, we can talk about that later. Because we don't have another meeting before the conference, so we would conduct all of this stuff via email. And it should be really fun. I think everyone initially expressed interest. I know schedules are funny, so I know that some of you have already expressed interest. Eli, you've expressed interest. Okay, so I'm gonna put you down. Chair Stemich, I think you expressed interest, am I correct?
Correct.
Right.
I don't know if I can do 4 days worth, but yeah, definitely the primary presentation days, yes.
Okay. I'll just go down the room. Commissioner Cipher. You might have to press the button.
There we go. Okay, I've got a red light. I can't make it. I will be in Arizona that entire weekend, so
Okay.
I've already booked those flights. So.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Huddleston? Yes, I think you already
Yeah,
did, yes.
I would like to
Okay.
attend.
Commissioner Harding-Jones?
It says maybe.
Maybe, okay. Absolutely, we can talk offline and figure that out. Okay. And Commissioner Schmidling, you?
Yes.
Yes, okay, this is great. Mark, sorry, I can't see the
Oh, you're good. I'm a solid maybe right now. I just took a new job that has me commuting back and forth to San Francisco, so I need to check it.
San Francisco, that's fine. Okay, so you're a maybe?
Yeah, I need to do some work scheduling, and I'll figure it out from there.
I will circle back to the maybes in the next couple weeks and just see how we're feeling. You do have time, so I don't want to pressure you, but what we want to avoid is people committing and then not being able to do it, obviously. Although I know, of course, life happens. So with that, did I miss anyone? No. Okay. And if we end up with extra slots, I will say that we can have a competition to allow someone else to go, perhaps from the City of Sisters or from Deschutes County, or I can see potentially if that's available to others. Three Sisters Historical Society, maybe? I don't know. I don't know if anybody's interested, but we can, once we have our final number, I can reach out, because I think that would be allowable by the grant. So that's great. So with that, Eli, Rachel, Carrie, and Dennis, your task is to reserve your hotels. One of the two ones from the website, and just let me know when you've done that.
Our task is what? Okay.
Yes. And the maybes, Chris and Mark, is just think about it, keep pondering, let me know when you can, and I'll circle back with you. And Lily, sorry. Sorry, you can enjoy your trip to Arizona. So it looks like we might have a vacancy. So those of you on that side of the room, start thinking if that would be something you might be interested in. And if you think it might be something you're interested in, please email me. We can sort that out. So does anyone have any questions about that? Okay.
Yeah, I am hoping if we do carpool, we're also picking the same hotel together. That'd be convenient.
The conference, it's a little spread out because I think it's sort of small, so it's not like it's at a big hotel where everything's
Right.
There were
Yeah,
certain-
it's the Woodburn area, so that includes, I think, Aurora and Mount Angel and some of the other Silverton, some other small communities too.
Yeah, I just received an email about the keynote speaker, and I will forward that to the group tomorrow. I think that is actually in Mount Angel, now that you said that, so.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, well, with that, you have your tasks for you as individuals, and I'm excited that we get to send you on this conference, so thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tanya.
Welcome.
Yeah, I think we're looking forward to it. For me personally, it's been a number of years since I've attended one, so.
Yeah.
All right. Was there any other questions on the conference?
Nothing in the room.
Okay. Our next agenda item is the Goal 5 cultural areas for the rulemaking update.
Okay, me again. I know that this is a topic that we've been discussing probably for quite some time, and I was going to provide an update in November, but we didn't have the meeting. But this is a fairly short update. Ultimately, the proposed rules that we have been discussing for Goal 5 cultural areas were adopted on December 4th, 2025. At issue, well, not issue, but as you might recall, this was the process was extended, essentially reopened because there were a few issues that I think some people wanted to DLCD to address more specifically. These items I outlined in the memo, but they pertain to kind of pretty specific things. One is who could bring an application forth to nominate a culturally significant landscape feature. This is one of the main tenets of the rule, is that it's creating this new type of Gold 5 research, essentially, a culturally significant landscape feature. Generally, this is tribal or indigenous land or features, that type of thing. This was not a category that existed before in the Goal 5 list of resources, which includes historic resources such as buildings. We've been talking about some of those tonight. It's also things like surface mines and wildlife resources. It really runs the gamut. But now this cultural areas will be another type. So the question was, who can bring an application forth? Can it be anyone on behalf of any kind of group? And they decided to keep it pretty narrow. This is they being DLCD, Department of Land Conservation and Development. Ultimately, the only groups that can bring these applications forth is an Oregon-based government, which basically means a local government, a state government, or a tribal government. That means the federally recognized tribes. Those tribes that are based outside of Oregon or that are not federally recognized, some of these have historically been terminated tribes, they're not allowed to directly bring an application for a landscape feature to a local government. And that sounds kind of limiting, but I think in their justification from DLCD is to note that non-federally recognized tribes or other tribes can petition a local government to apply on their behalf. So if you're a tribe that's not one of those tribes, you can say, hey, Deschutes County, can we piggyback? Can you submit this application on our behalf for a significant landscape feature? The concern was that because it wasn't limited to federally recognized tribes, that anyone could sort of form a group and try to essentially block certain initiatives like housing plans or things like that, not having anything to do with the tribe, just a group that you are determining, that you're determining is going to submit this application. So they just wanted to keep it narrow, keep it strictly limited to those tribes. So that was one of the last changes that happened to this, the rulemaking. The second one was just how local governments should process these types of application, and this is kind of getting in the weeds, but basically it can be either processed legislatively or quasi-judicially. It doesn't, it's a case-by-case basis depending on how certain governments treat these things. Certain governments treat them different ways. Some choose to always do these types of things legislatively, some don't. This is just giving the freedom to the local government to decide how to process it. It still has a process, still has hearings, still has public comments, all of that. It's kind of just a procedural detail. And the last thing that they addressed is not pertinent to us at all. It has to do with UGB expansions in close proximity to Portland Metro. So we're not even going to talk about that. So nothing significant or controversial has changed since I last talked to you 6 months ago about this rulemaking. I did attach a fact sheet that DLCD made about the final rules. I think they did a pretty good job with this fact sheet. Sometimes their fact sheets are more confusing than they are illuminating, but I think this is a good one. Feel free to reach out with any questions. The next steps, we are waiting, basically. We're waiting for DLCD to provide guidance to local governments about a few things. They're reaching out to the tribes and figuring out which tribes want to be notified of what and to whom. So we presumably will get some notification from DLCD saying, okay, these are the tribes that have, landscape features or just areas of interest in your county. This is the type of stuff they want to be notified about. This is the type of stuff they don't want to be notified about. So we will get that guidance. In addition, DLCD will provide us with sample language that we're going to be adding to most of our, or some of our applications, our land use applications, just kind of boilerplate language saying things about not disturbing archaeological features or accidental discovery. And we'll probably have to change our code a little bit to just acknowledge the new notice procedures that we will have to do based on certain types of applications. We'll provide notice to tribes and there's certain response times. So there's not really going to be any decision points. It's mostly going to be them giving us kind of the to-do list of how to change our codes and how to change our materials. But so they do go through a hearing process, but that will happen later, and we'll determine if the HLC will be a part of that or if it goes in our traditional legislative procedures, which goes through the Planning Commission. But it should be a pretty basic kind of clerical type of thing. All the decision making has happened at the state level. And this is very in the weeds. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're suddenly going to have a bunch of applications that come for this or none at all. We'll just have to wait and see. But I'm glad that they did this rulemaking and wrapped it up, just because it was a need, and they finished. Any questions?
Yeah, this is not going to be implemented until 2027?
Correct, yes. It's because they need that time, DLCD, to develop the language, create all the materials, coordinate with the tribes. January 1st, 2027 is when it becomes effective. So sometime during this year, we will be doing those changes once we are told what they are. So yes. Originally, I think before they kind of pushed the whole process out, it was earlier, but that changed. Things moved out.
Tanya,
Yes.
there's no requirement for private landowner consultations on the areas that they nominate, or there are?
I believe they can submit comments. I'm not sure if you mean for a nomination for a landscape feature of cultural interest?
Yes.
I believe that they are allowed to submit comments and they can object, but the process still has to go through. That's my understanding. And I'd have to read it closely again because it's been over a week. But yes. Does that
Okay,
make sense?
thank you. It does.
Okay.
So Tanya, will there be additional updates throughout this year as they fine tune that language?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yes, they're going to be, DLCD will be writing kind of model code.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it should be fairly minor, but it will change kind of our procedures ordinances about just when we send notice and to whom and that type of thing. So they'll be providing us with that language as well as recommended language for what to put on our land use applications. So we're waiting for them. The ball's in their court.
Right. Okay.
Tanya, is that something that they're incorporating into the conference in the spring?
That's a good question. I don't know if they've posted a full agenda yet of the conference. I don't know.
I know that the webinar that you invited us to was really helpful.
Yeah.
Making it less abstract.
Yes, I think, and the American Planning Association had a conference in October that I saw you at, and they had a session on that as well, and they distilled what is sort of, to me, it's slightly unnecessarily complicated for the concepts. I feel like they drilled it down, and that webinar as well helped drill down to like, what does this actually mean? But I don't know. I would assume there would be because people are speaking about it and talking about it, and I know some smaller communities had some concerns because they have like one planner who works twice a week, and you know, how do they handle all this kind of notice and the mail and you know, things like that. So I don't think this conversation is over. That's my impression, but I don't know specifically about the conference. Anyone else? All right.
Yeah. Thanks, Tanya.
You're welcome.
Righty. Next item we have is the subcommittee roundup. I know we were probably going to go over this in November, but we didn't have that meeting. Yeah, we have our 4 topic areas, and actually the first committee is the one that myself and Mark Hudson are on for the cultural resource work. Mark and I have not had the ability to meet up to really get into this. Part of it was stemming on seeing what else came out of the DLCD determination. So I feel like now that that's pretty much set, I feel like that gives Mark and I a little bit more direction on how we want to be discussing some of those cultural resources. But Mark, I'm not sure if you had any other ideas, obviously, since we haven't had a chance to really go over them yet.
No, I mean, I think the process is going to be pretty well defined. I think, like Tanya said, there's going to be some model ordinance that's likely to come out. You know, whether or not that's something that we need to discuss, I think will be born when that ordinance comes out. And then, you know, the secondary question is about the relevant tribes, kind of historic cultural areas that intersect with Deschutes County. Whether there's value in outreach there, whether or not they express interest to the staff or the commissioners, we'll just also have to wait to see on that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Mark, I think by the time we have our next preservation or our next landmarks meeting in May, I think we'll be able to get ourselves a pretty good update for the roundup.
Yeah, I would just, Tanya's been pretty good about forwarding stuff. Tanya, I think when and if those questions become relevant or more information becomes available, Rachel and I await tackling.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And I'll also just interrupt for one sec to note that these subcommittees, you know, there's no pressure. If there's nothing to delve into at the moment, that's completely fine. We're not expecting, you know, reports all the time. It's just sort of providing little nuggets if you want to kind of have more of a conversation. So don't feel obligated, and it's pretty relaxed. If you're like, I'm not interested in this topic anymore, I'd like to do something else, let me know. And, it's pretty fluid. We just want to get
Yeah.
people talking. So.
I just feel bad that I don't feel like I've done my homework.
No, I don't want you to. That's exactly what I don't want you to feel like.
Okay.
We're all doing our best and we're doing great.
Yes, we are. The next subcommittee is the wildfire and the preservation issues, which I know Eli and Lily have been hopefully talking a bit about.
Well, we haven't met recently, but I saw in the newspaper in the bulletin, commissioners adopted a more stringent series of policies regarding protection of structures, of which my own home is impacted. And so perhaps it would be a good time for the two of us to meet with you, Tanya, to help us maybe navigate how that
might
policy
work.
could fit with.
And I could do one better and get you in how to meet with the planner who actually implemented it, because he knows it a lot better than I do. But yeah, it was essentially a modification to the building code, to take the statewide building code and include fire resiliency. Well,
Yeah,
mostly, I believe it's mostly for new construction.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
some of the same elements could apply to existing.
Absolutely.
Who's the planner?
That is Kyle Collins, and I can get you guys in touch.
Okay. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
Okay.
The next subcommittee we had was for Camp Abbott, and I know Mark Hudson was involved with that, and then Commissioner Lloyd Christopher was also on that committee. I know we didn't. I think that was one of the topics that we never really delved into much at all. So I don't know, Mark, did you have any input on that one?
Yeah, I'll be honest. My primary issues were in the rulemaking around the culture. Yeah, and I think so. No, there hasn't been any conversation specifically about that one.
Yeah. All right, and then the last one we had was the public awareness issues, education, and of course Preservation Month, which I know I've got some involvement with that, and then also so does Lily, and so does Eli a bit. And I will say, from the Preservation Month standpoint, it is already February, so I am out of the state at the moment, but I will try to do an outreach email to our normal volunteer group with the various organizations to see if we can set up kind of a little kickoff meeting for Preservation Month and see what kind of ideas and topics people have for this year, for 2026. And that's all I have, obviously, on the Preservation Month side of things. But as with the presentation we just had from the Sisters Historic Society, I can't remember if that's, it's Three Sisters, right? Three Sisters Historic Society. Is if we do any public awareness and outreach education, I think that their type of organization, along with Deschutes Historic Museum, are going to probably be the key outlets for that. So as long as we're still collaborating with them, I believe that's going to be probably our one of our best efforts for engaging the general public. Eli or Lily, did you have any ideas or comments?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I also did want to connect with Tanya and try to get some sort of post or something social media wise done through I believe the county. I usually go to Instagram, but that might be my generation thing. Maybe we could do a little Facebook too.
Instagram.
But we were going to discuss putting together something like that. So I will get on that and see if we have some pictures or some sort of little tour. We could even just feature the historic Landmarks tour in Sisters, the walking tour is great. Put that back up there. Let people know
Yeah.
that's happening.
Yeah. Lily, now that you mentioned that, I'm definitely one of those people that's not very active on social media. But I have a ton of imagery from past preservation months, from various tours that we've done, both as a commission and just as for different education purposes over the years, probably at least, gosh, 10 or 12 years worth. So if that's areas where you're looking for, interesting imagery, I can probably help with that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that would be great. Just thinking of a resource that doesn't
mhm.
cost anything that we could get a little. I think it's one of our only ones. So if you want to
Yeah.
share those pictures around with me or Tanya or however we want to do that,
Okay.
maybe I can come up with a little mini business plan for it and we can get out there.
Yeah. Tanya, are you aware if I know that the county used to do sort of a news blast, sort of. Um, I know they used to do the newsletters, just emailed out, but press releases and whatnot. Is there still somebody at the county that distributes that information, or is that kind of gone by the wayside?
We have I think it's called Inside Deschutes County or something like
That's
that.
it.
Maybe
Yeah.
some of you receive it. Yeah. We have some
Yeah.
happy subscribers in the room. Yes, and that's not run by me, but I
No.
know some people I could probably get in touch with. I think they're probably often looking for content. It's the same people who do the social media. But that would be a great thing to feature. I don't know how often they do it, so I can reach out to our social media and press people and find out kind of what our opportunities are and what the timing would be for like a little paragraph blurb or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. And I know that there's something to be said about the frequency of posting and to as far as viewership goes. So yeah, when it's stuff that's not very frequent, it can be kind of detrimental when it's not very frequent. Yeah, so and then Eli, did you have any comments on that topic for general public awareness or preservation month?
No, nothing to add at this point, but I'll look forward to our meeting. So let me know when you'd like to get together.
Great. Yeah. Once I've reached out to our core volunteer group for Preservation Month, I will make sure that we have our email distribution list updated with people that I know are, at least from our commission, that are interested. And Tanya, I am aware of when we do that correspondence limitation, I think it was to 3 voting commissioners max. I always feel like I have to re-review those rules every year, but
We'll have to get it together.
yeah.
We'll figure out a way. If meetings are noticed, then it's generally okay. So
Yes.
we'll figure it
Got
out.
it. Okay.
I don't want it to stop any participation. And I'll also note that I was corresponding with Kelly Cannon Miller from the Deschutes Historical Society Museum, and she often leads a lot of the Preservation Month planning. And she said if people are really interested, they can get in touch with her directly, and I can provide you her email. I'll send an email tomorrow with kind of a little to-do list for everybody with Kelly's contact information as well. You can also just reach out to me and say, hey, I'm really interested, and she'll add you to the list that
Great.
Rachel, maybe that's the same list, but
It probably is. Yeah. Honestly, it would be better to come from Kelly, since it's the museum that basically ends up posting the entire list of activities for May. So yeah, and a lot of our meetings are held there at the museum when we're doing our planning. So yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense if it does come from Kelly directly.
I'll send out an email with her contact info to everybody.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Was there any other comments having to do with the subcommittees that we missed?
Rachel, I
yeah.
don't want to create a quorum issue with the preservation subcommittee, but if you did need any specific help with something, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah. Well, that's I guess that's one thing is Carrie, if you can take a look at any of those subgroups that we have already, if there's any topics that you're interested in, yeah, I'd say probably reaching out to Tanya would be great to get you into some of those. I know, like I said earlier, the Camp Abbott topic kind of got a little bit left behind, but I again, it's like that was just one of the topics that we had discussed, and this was going on, I think, a year and a half ago, probably, Tanya, if I remember correctly, when we first started these subgroups. But if we wanted to look at adding or changing a topic, I think we're at liberty to do that too, isn't that right?
Yeah, it's your commission, so you can,
Yeah.
if you have a thing that you're really interested in that's, within the purview of Deschutes County's kind of thing,
Right.
by all means, we're just trying to kind of encourage discussion topics and research, and we want to do what kind of jazzes you guys up. So that's, if you're not interested in certain things, then we can table them and talk about other stuff. So yeah, it's pretty free form.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, Tanya, we may have had some earlier descriptions on those subcommittees that I don't know if we probably talked about it, but it was also, I think, in email format. If that's something that maybe you could share with Carrie, just to kind of get her up to speed.
My recollection was that it sort of happened organically in the meeting.
It was kind of fluid, yeah.
Maybe in one of the agendas I was asking people to choose one, so I'll look back and see.
Okay.
If I can find something, I will send it to the group.
Wonderful. All right. So our last item has any additional staff or commissioner comments?
I'll just keep talking because that's just one quick note. I think I had maybe originally promised that we were going to have people from the Camp Polk Cemetery speak tonight, and they were unable to do that. So we're hoping for May for them. So in case you were hoping for that, it's not happening tonight, but we are in touch with them, and we are looking for that May meeting, which would be right after the conference. So I think we might put an agenda item for a report about how the conference went. So start thinking.
Right. And typically our meeting in May is usually one of the first events for Preservation Month. So in some ways we do the kickoff in our own way, but yeah.
That's all I have. Thanks everyone for coming out in person. It's nice to see everyone. And thanks again to Sisters for hosting, and for Three Sisters for being here. I don't know if anyone else has comments or.
All right. Well, we've already talked about our next meeting, and so I think it's May 4th. Is that right? The next.
That Monday, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
It is May 4th.
Okay.
May the 4th be with you. I will not be at that meeting. I'm always out of town that week, which is why I can't go to the conference. But Will Groves, your planning manager, will be hosting in my place.
Excellent. All right. Well, I guess with that, if there's no other items, then we can adjourn our meeting for February 2nd.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.